I watched my mom take care of everyone, but she never took care of herself. And I always felt like, why doesn't she ever do something for herself? And so for me, it became, if I can't take care of myself, then I can't take care of you. I always say, self-love, it's, do you truly honor who you are? Self-love is like respect. You can't demand someone to respect you if you don't respect yourself.
Hey everybody, welcome to Women Unlocking Wealth podcast. I'm Danielle Thompson and I'm here today with our co-host Tamara Thompson.
Hey everyone.
And we're here today with a very special guest, Yolanda Martinez. She is a success coach for business owners and we're so grateful to have you here today.
Well, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure. I feel honored to be here.
Aw, awesome.
Well, you deserve to be here.
For sure. So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Let's see, I grew up in Oregon. I was a migrant worker from the time I was 7 until I was 17. So I didn't have much of your traditional childhood because I worked every summer. And from there, I wanted more than just to be known as a migrant worker. So I didn't let that stigma of what a migrant worker does. They think that when they become that's all they can become. I had other aspirations and dreams. I wanted to be a model. I wanted to teach, and I wanted to see the world. So
we love traveling.
We do love traveling. I love, being able to live with other cultures and know their lifestyles and traditions.
So it's food.
And their food, especially the food. It's always great to, experience things that are not in your culture. Mm-hmm. I grew up very traditional with, a very strict father, a stay-at-home mom who cooked every day, homemade tortillas every day, beans and rice every day. So at a very young age, I learned to cook just because I wanted more of a variety. And then I had things written down that I wanted to do. Like I wanted to move to LA to become a model, then go to New York, then go to Fashion Week. So I had all these things. So when my parents divorced, I was 18. I had just graduated from high school. And I was in that, what are we going to do? My dad just left. He didn't leave us anything. And my mom decided to move us to California, and where my older half brother lived. And so we moved out there, and I wasn't happy with my surroundings. Mm-hmm. My brother was doing things that I didn't want in my life. Mm-hmm. And so at 19, I made the difficult choice of walking away from my family and going out on my own to LA. Mm-hmm. And so I ventured out to LA at the young age of 19, almost 20. And I started college. I got a teaching job. And I worked at a grocery store part-time to pay for my college. So, yeah.
What did you teach?
Elementary school.
Oh, cute.
What grade?
Well, I taught preschool up to 6th grade. So every couple of years I would get moved around. I was the bilingual teacher. Mm-hmm. So all the subjects that were being taught by the teacher, I taught them in Spanish. Okay. And so I did that for 10 years. Okay. I loved it. That was my passion. I always wanted to be a teacher. But then as I got into the teaching world and getting to really know how it works, it was just too political for me. Mm-hmm. And I always felt like, why are politicians telling me what I need to do in the classroom for my students, or what I need for my students to be able to learn and adjust, mm-hmm. when it's the teachers who are with the kids every day? And so it became, I watched, the principal always, we couldn't implement a program until it got approved, and that took 5 years. And I was like, wow.
I want more out of life at this point.
I said, I'm going to have to teach somewhere else and do it different. So I left that, and then I was doing modeling. I got into a little bit of office work, but that wasn't really my thing. I worked for a mortgage company, brokers, and it just didn't mesh with the things that I wanted to do. So I walked away from that. And then a few years later, I met Mark and worked with him for 17 years until he decided to retire. And so now it's like, oh, I can do what I want to do now. Because before it was so hard with him traveling, with us traveling from May until November, we would be on the road. So I really couldn't like start anything because our schedule was all over the place all the time. So now it's like, okay, what do I want to do? And so
right now he's traveling without you, speaking at events.
He's
too.
speaking at events, so that's good. But then I've always had a passion for, being vocal. I was never a follower. Like if my friends did things and I was like, no, that doesn't feel right for me, I wouldn't do it. And so I've always
follow that intuition. I'm like, that's not for me. Yeah.
And so I always felt that as women, we'd sometimes succumb to following other people and, what they tell you and their opinions.
You're a leader.
And so I was like, no, I have my own opinion and I'm very vocal about it. And I'm very, direct and blunt if I don't like something and I don't agree with something.
You speak your truth.
Very much so. My cousin used to always say, if you want an honest opinion,
Talk
ask
to
Yolanda.
Oh my God.
If you want to hear what you want to hear, then you need to call so-and-so. So I've always been very vocal. And so my dad used to always say, that mouth of yours is going to get you into trouble. And I'm like, bring it.
Well, what part in your life kind of like put you through like the transition to want to help work with women on that side? Like you seem very, powerful and strong. On that side. And
I think since I was very little, since I probably when I was a teenager, when I started being more vocal, like if I asked my dad for permission, he would always be like, I don't know, ask your mom. And then I'd go ask her and she'd be like, I don't know, ask your dad. And so it got to the point where I was like, I think I was around 15 or 16. And I was like, okay, I'm not asking you for permission. I'm just going to tell you where I'm going and when I'm coming back, because neither one of you can say yes or no. So I'm going to the movies with my cousin. And then I would just go. And so my mom, for a long time, she would say to me, after they got divorced, she would be like, your dad left because of you, because you were so rebellious. And I was like, okay, like, I can't fix that. I am who I am. And if you didn't like the fact that I was outspoken, that's on him, not on me.
Exactly.
And so
it's a great trait to actually have when you're a coach, because that coaching mentality, when you can come in and speak the truth, especially when you're coaching other women, like building their own success, and a lot of people want more out of life. So I think that trait is very strong on that side. What kind of things are you doing right now? So I know you have your website. It's 21 Days with Yolanda. What are you doing with women right now?
Right now I have the 21 Days, which is an online program that they do at their own pace. And it's really geared towards, self-love, self-worth, and self-care, which I think as busy women and even stay-at-home moms, I'm sorry, just because you're a stay-at-home mom doesn't mean that you're not doing anything. And so, I watched my mom take care of everyone, but she never took care of herself. And I always felt like, why doesn't she ever do something for herself? And so for me, it became, if I can't take care of myself, then I can't take care of you.
Yeah.
So I
similar
was
to the side of like, well, that's more like self-care, but they always say like you have to love yourself before you can love another. You can take care of yourself before you can do other things. I think it's something that.
Well, yeah, I always say, self-love, it's, do you truly honor who you are? Do you truly love who you are and who you've become? And if you don't, what do you need to change so that feeling becomes, I love myself so much, I'm not going to let this person or that person, walk all over me or, keep putting in their opinions in my head that I have to be living by. And so, I always tell people, if it's like respect, self-love is like respect. You can't demand someone to respect you if you don't respect yourself. So I've always been very keen on those things because, in the modeling industry, you're in rejection mode
Yeah.
all the time. And if you don't have, like I said, a tough skin, rejection will just eat you up because you're like, oh, they don't like me. I'm not good enough. And I was like the complete opposite. Like, okay, well, I'm not who you're looking for right now. And that works for me because then I can just go to the next job. Mm-hmm. So I always felt like as women, we always say, oh, you have to respect me. Well, do you respect yourself for other people to see that you respect yourself? Or do you respect yourself if somebody's doing something to you that you don't like? Do you stand up for yourself? And so those have been very strong things for me because growing up, my dad would always be like, I don't like the outfit you're wearing. Aww. You can't wear that today. And I'm like, well, I didn't dress for you.
I love what you're wearing today. So it pops with the pink.
So I would always be like, well, I didn't dress for you. I dressed for myself. So that really doesn't matter to me. So if you don't like what I'm wearing, don't look at me. And he would always just shake his head. And I'd be like, no, that's the truth.
Do you have some tips or like framework or ideas that you run by the women that like run through like the 21 days program with you?
Yes, when I have them start the program, I have them, the first thing they do is sign a commitment letter.
Ooh, to themselves?
And so they always say like, why am I signing a commitment letter? And I'm like, well, it's not like how it sounds. It's the commitment's not to me. I'm like, the commitment's not to me. The commitment's to yourself.
That's powerful.
And you're making that commitment saying, I'm going to show up at 100% every day. And then from there, I tell them, I'm not your babysitter. So if we have an 8 o'clock.
We don't want that, no.
If you have an 8 o'clock, it's 8 o'clock, not 8:05 or 8:10. Because I have other clients that are going to be on time, mm-hmm. and now I'm going to be the one showing up late. Mm-hmm. And so I remember having,
like 30 minutes late this morning.
I remember having a mother-daughter that I was coaching.
Like, I'd be fired.
Time out. No, but I coached the mother-daughter during COVID, and the mother was she always showed up late for work, and she always she focused on like, oh, the other employees don't like me, and I'm like, well, why don't they like you? And so we went to this whole rundown, and the whole thing was the owner of the company that she worked for was her friend. So if she showed up at 11, he didn't care, and so he didn't say anything. But the other employees saw that. And so they didn't like her because
special treatment.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And so I told her, I said, well,
show up on time.
I said, well, no, I made it to where I made her realize like me showing up late is not a reflection on him. It's a reflection on me. And so I had to work with her on that aspect of saying, think of how it makes him feel when he has to sit there and treat the other employees by the rules that he has, but not you. How do you think that makes him feel? Now, put it on them. How do you think they feel as employees who show up on time and do the work, and then you show up whenever you want to do whatever you want, and they're working their butts off? I said, you need to put yourself in their shoes for one day. And then
she's supposed to be there at 8 a.m. by chance. Yeah. I'm like, 11. That's a little bit.
I used to be 5 minutes early on the dot. I clock in 5 minutes early every time.
There's me. I'm like,
for years, for like
9 minutes late.
Well, when I was teaching, I would show up, 30 minutes early because I needed to get my lessons planned together and so forth. So I always, and then the daughter, she was more of the, she wanted to get acceptance from her mom because they were, from a culture where it's like the mom and the dad get to pick the husband. And so she didn't want that. And she was dating someone that she knew her parents wouldn't approve of. And so I had to be kind of like, you need to stand up for you. Mm-hmm. Your culture doesn't define who you end up with. Like my dad, of course, my dad wanted me to marry, it's like the women in the Latin community, I think, especially, when I was growing up, it was very much the women, went to school and then they became wives and had kids and stayed at home. And the husbands went out and earned the money. I was like the complete opposite. My dad tried to raise us to be, accommodating to my younger brother. And I was like, well, until he's missing a leg or crippled or in a wheelchair, I will bring him a glass of water. But he's got 2 good legs and 2 good arms. I'm not doing it. He's sitting on the couch doing nothing. And he wants me to bring him a glass of water.
You were taught to be submissive to your brother?
Yes.
Oh,
for years, my mother would implement that on that we were the women and we had to cater to, our little brother. Men. And I was like, until he's crippled or missing a leg.
And you rebelled. That's great.
Yeah, and I was like, that's not going to happen. And he would always be like, I'm going to tell my dad. And I'm like, tell him, what is he going to do? Make me bring you a glass of water? I'm like, what is he going to do? I don't care. It's like, I became. I ask you
for a glass of water sometimes. I'm like, thank you.
I'm okay. But no,
I'm an acts of service person. So.
I totally get it.
I want to go back to the story of the gal with the 11 o'clock because I need to know how this resolved. When she worked with you, did she?
I had her every day. She had to show up 15 minutes early to work.
Was that hard for her? She's like, I have to set my alarm.
Oh yeah, she had a difficult time with it because
15 minutes before 8 or before her late track, no, before 8.
Before 8.
Okay.
Her time was 8 o'clock, so she needed to be there at 7:45, and the first thing I had her do was, you need to clean your space where you work because I know that it's not clean. I said, because the fact that you're all over the place tells me that the space that you use at work is not clean and the space that you want at home for your tranquility and peace is also not clean. Mm. I said, so the first 2 things that you need to do is clean those 2 spaces so that they're available for when you need to go in and have that peace of mind. And then I had her buy stickers that she could use for affirmations. And then I had her write, on a piece of paper, and I had her tape it on her mirror and on the outside of her bedroom, on her bedroom door on the outside. And it said, I can't even remember how it said it, but it was in reference to showing up on time means I'm honoring who I am. And so I had her write that on the mirror, and she had to look at it every day. And I was like, when you start implementing those new habits, you're going to realize how much better people are going to treat you at work and how different your boss is going to be. And so it escalated until I knew when she had kind of backtracked because she would show up late to our appointments.
Oh, no.
And so the first time she showed up late, I was like, okay, so now you don't have an hour. Now you have 45 minutes. We're not making up the time. I said, next week, our meet time is 8 o'clock. If you show up at 8:15, it's a $250 fine. And if you decide that that's going to be your time is 8:15 and not 8 o'clock, then you just better be prepared to pay up at the end of the month because I'm not showing up late for you. I'm actually here 10 minutes early waiting for you to get on the phone. Not only that, I show up and I'm dressed, ready to go. Because we had Zoom calls sometimes. And she would show up in her pajamas. And I'm like, no. You're about ready to go to work.
Are yoga pants okay sometimes? Or you could be dressed in the 9s up top.
Fine.
And then,
That's fine. But pants. I just needed her to show up honoring herself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like during COVID, people were like, oh, I'm just in my sweatpants. And I'm just like, I don't put any makeup on. And I'm like, nope, not me. I got up and got ready every day as if I was going to go to work. Yep. Because I felt like if I get into that mindset of just being in pajamas and my hair up in a bun and no motivation to live life, even though we were all on lockdown, I think that's why a lot of people had the mental breakdowns because especially women
they didn't have normalcy or regular consistency of getting up and going to work, or going to be able to go to the grocery store.
Exactly.
Or even
And
sometimes
so,
walk the dog.
I mean, I know people thought differently when COVID happened, but my first thought, like for us in Vegas, my first thought was, oh my God, what are all these families going to do? Because all these casinos are closed. Nobody's working. And then the next thing I thought about was, oh my God, how are these relationships going to survive when they each go their separate ways for 8 hours, come home, have dinner, and then they go to bed? I'm like, how's it going to be
now? Around each other 24/7. Like,
there was like a lot of divorces right after.
So that's where that's how my mind works. Like when people say, I had a niece that always used to say, like I would say, like, don't drink and drive. And she's like, well, that's never going to happen to me. I'm never going to have an accident. And I'm like, shouldn't the better question be, what if it does? What if the accident does happen? How are you going to handle it? How are your parents going to handle it? Your dad's a cop. How is he going to handle it? It's all those things. And so I became if I have a friend that used to call me Little Why, because they would say something and I'd be like, why? Why do I have to do that? Why does that have to be that way? Why can't it be this way? And so he started calling me Little Why. And it's because I always ask the questions that people don't normally ask. And, it's the same thing in business. My Mark will sometimes talk about business stuff that he's doing. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't they do this instead of that? And he was like, well, I never thought of that. And I'm like, that's because people always think of the same questions, same outcome. And so I'm
narrow thinking.
And I'm always the one that's like throwing that sporadic question that's like, what?
Which is great.
You make people think. It's good.
Yeah, it's great for a coach. I mean, just being able to see different solutions from a different set of eyes is huge. Who do you find that you benefit the most? Like, what type of women have you worked with that you drove the most transformation for?
I think, working with that mother-daughter, because they were from a different culture than mine. And even from me growing up here in the States, it's different. I think regardless of where you come from, I think that if you get asked the right questions, you'll get the answer that you're looking for. And at the end of the day, it has nothing to do from where you came from, what your culture is, what your traditions are, because if we're living here, I can't be trying to implement all my culture and my traditions from Mexico onto somebody that's never been there, that's never lived there. And even for me, I had to learn a lot of my traditions because my parents never took us back to Mexico. I was 6 years old when we came here. And so they never took us back to see the culture. I've gone back myself to learn more about it. So I think just women that are open to the idea of there's other ways of thinking and there's other solutions. I find that sometimes we get stuck in our story and then we think that's all there is for me.
I think a lot of people think that they just keep replaying this story, or people play victims, or they do these certain things, and they need to understand, especially women, and that's what this show is about, is helping women unlock different things that they don't understand. Instead of replaying that old story, they need to understand that we can all change. And the people out there that say oh, people never change. That's what my mom says that all the time. Oh, I'm so old right now. I can't change at this point. And I was like, you know what? That's not true. We can always make a choice to change and be able to go through that process. And I love the fact that you're going in very confidently helping women in this process, because there's so many women. We all have our quirks that we have to work through and we learn through. We fall on our faces, get back up and you learn. And that's really the process. And we're super grateful that we're able to meet you, to have you share a little bit of your story today. So I appreciate you being on the show. So where can people find you? Can you tell our audience a little bit more, maybe social media, other things?
Well, I'm on Instagram and Facebook. You can just look Yolanda Martinez. And then my website is 21 Days with Yolanda.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We truly appreciate you.
Well, thank you for having me here.
And I love this color. Well, thank you so much for watching this episode today. Be sure to subscribe, ring that bell, leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, be sure to leave a 5-star review, and we'll see you in the next episode.